Hi, I just wanted to make a quick video while I had a moment. I get a lot of messages from you guys, and by you guys, I mean the ones I met through Katelyn Nicole Davis. I get a lot of messages from y'all regarding your depression and possible suicidal thoughts or ideation. And while I try my best to listen to you and not necessarily advise you, but keep up with you in a way and have hope that thereafter you are feeling better, or at least not worse, I still ultimately don't think that the internet is the place you should be resorting to when you feel suicidal, unless you are only limiting yourself to forums online that are from psychology websites or mental health websites that are specifically for suicide. So maybe on the forums you're communicating to other people who are feeling the same as you, and then misery loves company, so y'all can kind of find comfort in feeling that same pain. But I can't really think of any other place. For instance, Katelyn would go to a live streaming website, which most of the people who were listening to her only saw her as an object, and they were lusting after her, and these were grown men, and you would think, what I have a tendency to do, I don't know if you do, what I have a tendency to do is I think, well, I could never do that to someone, so I trust that they would never do that to me. If I'm acting suicidal on a live stream, they're probably going to listen to me and want to help me, because if someone else is on a live stream acting suicidal, of course I would want to help them. But you can't think that way, because on the internet, people are anonymous in a way. Even if they have a picture, they are hiding behind the scenes, so to speak. So they're not going to have that same accountability that they would have if they were encouraging you to kill yourself or not helping you as they would in a public setting. Sorry, I just had to pause my video. I think I was at the part where, okay, so people on the internet they are not accountable as much for their actions, because a lot of them are hiding behind a screen name or an avatar or even a picture that could be fake. So when you go to the internet for help, even if the person is real, if they have a sociopathic way to them, then they aren't going to hold it back, because no one's going to witness it more than likely, and they can run and hide or delete their profile. And I've noticed, for instance, on YouTube, a lot of bullying takes place, especially for the people who get on YouTube and they say they have mental illness or they're depressed. They get accused of being an attention whore, and which I think is ridiculous. I say this in so many videos, that even making that comment, you're asking for attention from people. If you call someone an attention whore, you're hoping that the person sees it. You're hoping the comment gets attention. We are attention-seeking creatures. Getting attention from people is part of connecting with others. Yes, some demand it more than others. Yes, some are obnoxious about it. Yes, some are fake about it. But don't take that risk with people who say that they feel suicidal. So therefore, don't go to the internet unless, like I said, you're only limiting yourself to forums where people are truly feeling depressed, like they are actually going to suicide forums to talk about how they feel suicidal. That would be the only place I can think. And even there, you still might need to watch out, because there are sociopaths everywhere, so I would watch out. Obviously, the best place I think would be to call a crisis hotline, although sometimes even the people on the phone sometimes can act like they are annoyed by you. So, I mean, insurance, hopefully, if you have it, should cover therapists in your area or around your area. I would go to a therapist, or like I said, those forums. I can't really think of another place other than a therapist or a best friend, but I know that when you're feeling depressed, you don't really want to go to a best friend. I think when you're feeling suicidal, you really just want to hear somebody tell you that they enjoy being around you. Not compliments, because compliments, I don't want to say they're cheap, but they are fleeting. That whatever someone compliments you on can change possibly, or if you're a depressed person, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, you're going to end up hating me sooner or later. Or at least that sometimes is how I feel. If someone compliments me, I always think oh, they think I'm pretty. Well, they're going to think I'm ugly next time they see me, or they think I'm nice, or they're going to think I'm the devil next time they see me. And so in the end, what you really want to hear when you're feeling suicidal is that somebody to look you in the eyes and say, I enjoy when you're around me. I enjoy having you around. I think that you make me feel good when you're around. Really that simple. Not necessarily a compliment about you, like your gifts or talents or how pretty you are, anything like that, but like just that your presence is appreciated. That's what you want to hear. But on the internet, that's not what you're going to get. You're not going to get that. So I've noticed that suicidal people, it just gets exacerbated, their suicidal feelings, if they put it out there on the internet. People can be really cold. Yes, people can be really nice, but people can be really cold. And when you're feeling suicidal, I mean, it's like declawing a kitten and then throwing it in a jungle. That's what I feel like you're doing to yourself when you're feeling that, when you're that vulnerable, you're that emotionally vulnerable, and you put yourself out there on the internet. Like, no, you are too susceptible to just completely, I mean, you are on edge, and some of you are literally on an edge, and the internet can push you off of that edge because, okay, so to me, it's like, since mental illness is an illness, let's pretend like it were physical. If you are physically ill and someone told you, if you go near this chemical, it is going to kill you because of your physical illness, you cannot be exposed to this chemical, because even though it could do some good, it could actually do more harm. Well, that's kind of how I see the internet for mental illness. If you are feeling suicidal, I'm not talking about just a little depressed, I mean full on suicidal, and you open up your laptop and you go on the internet and you act just a tiny bit depressed or tell someone that you're feeling suicidal, then I feel like you are exposing yourself to a deadly chemical. Yes, that is what I feel like you are doing. And even though necessarily that might not happen, it might not kill you, you are still exposing yourself to potentially deadly chemicals. So they say when you're feeling suicidal sometimes, because as humans we need to feel openness with our emotions. Like in countries where people are the happiest, they have more of an open space to think and to just be. But in modern day society, it's not like that. And even if you need to just stand in a yard or in an open space for a little bit, just to allow yourself to just let those negative thoughts come and pass. Don't resist them, because the more you resist them, the more it will snowball. Trust me, I know. So you need to just observe those thoughts. I'm sure you've heard about this through mindful thinking, but I'm thinking more in emergency situations. You need to face those thoughts, face them, and not welcome them, but don't push them out the door. Just let them go and make sure that you are in an open area. If you can't be in an open area, then nostalgia, or some people say nostalgia, I say nostalgia, should really help you immensely. So music that makes you feel good, that you heard when you were really happy, maybe when you were like a really young child. So if you're a teenager, maybe music that you heard when you were like in preschool or kindergarten. Or if you're an adult, music that you heard in your teens when you were at a happy period in your life. Music can really help people. Or certain foods, your senses really, really hug your senses. Your sense of touch, smell, taste, all that. Pay attention to those, and those on the outside that's coming in through your senses can really help with this. So it's just a way to help leave this and pay more attention to this. And I know, it is easier said than done. Like, I'm not expecting y'all to hear what I'm saying. If you're feeling depressed or suicidal, I'm like, oh, okay, like, no, we're not Barney. Life isn't like that. And people think that if you're an adult, that you should just be able, like, that you should, like, know how to not make yourself feel suicidal. If you feel suicidal, like, that once you're over 18, you should just be able to just, like, oh, well, this is silly. No, I mean, most of suicidal thoughts come from hormonal imbalances in the body, chemical imbalances, or not chemical imbalances, but, well, I guess, yeah, to a degree. I mean, I don't like to say chemical imbalance because the psychiatry industry likes to say all this stuff about imbalances of the brain and whatnot, but it's been proven on brain scans that that is only for schizophrenia and sociopathy, but I'm not going to go there. But I know a lot of times physically the depression manifests and it comes and it attacks here, but sometimes it really can just be genetics, and you have more of a genetic proclivity to being suicidal. Or maybe it's circumstantial and you have like your life truly, it has been tragic and you've been a victim to a lot of horrible things. or maybe just freshly new in your life, you've been victim to something really depressing, or maybe somebody who meant a lot to you passed away, and you try to make it through the day, and you're one of those people who smiles, but on the inside, you are crying on you are crying on the inside. Like, literally, you are just, like, choking up, and nobody really knows, and you feel you are on that edge, but nobody really knows, and so you come on the internet, and you, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or, I don't know, a place where, a public platform online, and you at all indicate that you're feeling suicidal. Again, you are exposing yourself to chemicals, to potential harm, and I don't want you to do that. Unless you know the person from the inside out, you've known them for a really long time, and you know that they wouldn't find pleasure in controlling your emotions, because that's the game I see played a lot on here on the internet. I see it in YouTube comments where y'all saw me defend Joy Sparkle BS. Well, she's been off YouTube now for a couple weeks, a little over a couple weeks. She's been feeling really depressed. From what I heard, her health has been really bad. She's had some weight gain, and the bullies are still making videos about her to this day. They are making fun of her. They'll be like, I think she's mentally ill. I think she's depressed and full of anxiety. She could possibly even be suicidal. I hope she dies. I've seen so many comments of people saying that they wish the hurricane had killed her. And when I say so many, I'm talking dozens. Like, you would think she actually did something to deserve this. That's what you would actually think. She was an evil person. That's the crazy thing. But all these people say is that she's cringeworthy and she's an attention whore. That's their reason for doing this to her. And, I mean, let's just forget her for a minute. No offense to her, but let's just, people in general. I could do a test. I could do a social test right now. And I could make a video crying saying that I want to kill myself. And while half of the people, and if not the people who know me, but if I did it on my YouTube channel where the people don't really know me, I'd maybe get the same, I want to say 10 to 15 people who would feel bad for me. But then all the other people would be calling me a drama queen, attention whore, telling me to kill myself. And if I were lacking more self-awareness, if I weren't going to be 30 in November, then that would possibly push me over the edge. Or if I weren't a mother. Katelyn was not a mother. Most of the people who kill themselves are not mothers. Not saying it doesn't happen, but I think statistically speaking, mothers don't top the list. It's usually people who are teens, or I think it's like under 25 is the statistic. And it varies between males and females. I've heard males do it more, but now they're saying that when it comes to prepubescent, I can't believe I even have to say that, but truly, prepubescent age and teens, it's usually girls. But then I think it was like 18 to 25 are males, but I could be wrong. That's what I remember reading. And anyway, you have to really tread carefully on the internet if you feel suicidal. I don't recommend coming here. Take a break. If you have withdrawals, please just go through it. I see too much evil on here for you to be here if you feel suicidal. And I am honored that you come to me if you're feeling suicidal and that you feel like I can help lift you up. But at the same time, you're talking to me online, which shows me that you're online. And what if I didn't have empathy? What if I was one of those people who he messaged me and I was like, well, your life, tell me what achievements you've made, or like, why do you think you should live? Like, you really don't know me. And like, you're taking that risk with me, with your emotions. Like, you're basically handing your emotions, putting them on a platter and giving them to me and giving me that control when you tell me that you feel suicidal and you want me to help you feel better. And this is something I tell a lot of people who feel suicidal, and I've told myself before, not saying I feel suicidal right now, but I've told myself this before, is we're all going to die. Like, if I made a post right now on Facebook and I said, we're going to die, people would be like, what do you mean? What happened? And I'd be like, well, I mean, you're going to die too. Like, we're all going to die. Because people forget that. People, we're in the zone where it's kind of like on a video game where you can zoom out or you can zoom in when you're in a race car or something, or you're playing first player and you're completely zoomed in. You can't see your character. You're just zoomed in. So you're just seeing what's in front of you. That's usually the perspective that we have. And so because of that, we're seeing a little bit of tunnel vision. We're just seeing on that path that's directly in front of us, and we're just seeing what's going on right then and there. And unless you are kind of philosophical minded or a little depressed, you're not really going to be thinking about your faith that much, which is that you're going to die. And so, yeah, we're going to die. So suicide only speeds it up. That's it. You're not doing anything unique because we're all going to die. So if you're doing it because you want people to like realize how sad you were and stuff, there are many other ways. If you're just pulling at everything you can because you feel like you are not being heard and you want people to know how sad you feel, do it in a way that is reversible. Or not reversible, but do it in a way where you aren't cutting it short. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand you may be thinking, but I want to cut it short. Like, I can't take this anymore. But a lot of people remind themselves when they're feeling suicidal, I'm going to die anyway. And the thing is, life can change in the blink of an eye. Sorry, my throat feels really dry. Life can change in the blink of an eye. For better or for worse. People lose limbs randomly. Every time we get in a car, we could be permanently disfigured and unrecognizable. Anytime you walk in the street, a dog could attack you unprovoked and disfigure your face or something. Or, I know that sounds dramatic, but check the news. It happens every day all over the world. And in first world countries, you could get swallowed by a sinkhole. A plane could crash on you. I know those are like not common things, but car crashes are very common. Just random cancers that form in the body, very common. I mean, we're all gonna die. And just remind me, like, in some really weird, twisted way, that brings me comfort. When I realize, we're all in this together. We're all gonna die. And we're alone when we die. Like, even if we're cuddled up next to people when our consciousness leaves, we're alone in that moment. And there's some comfort in that, knowing that we're all going to be feeling alone at one point. Even if you feel alone and dead and empty and useless and worthless and all that right now, which you're not, we're all going to feel that at some point if we're aware that we're dying and it's not something instant. And how do I know that you're worth it? Because everyone I've ever known who has had suicidal tendencies usually has the biggest heart I've ever met because they're constantly second-guessing themselves. They want to be the best version of themselves, and if they feel like they've hurt anyone or let anyone down, they feel horrible. Like, they're the biggest empaths I've ever noticed. And so that's why I know you're worth it, because most of the evil people I've read about and discovered in this world, killers, rapists, etc., the last thing they would do on this planet is kill themselves. They say Hitler only killed himself because he was going to be executed, and so he wanted to do it before he got caught, and so it wasn't really like an act of humility or like shame or anything like that. It was more of like, I'm going to do it before you do. So someone like him excluded. I'm talking about your run-of-the-mill person who wants to kill themselves. It's because they absorb everyone's emotions more than the average person. They feel guilt more than anyone I've ever met for things that most people don't feel guilty for. And while that is a horrible burden to live with, it makes you very unique, and it makes you needed on this planet. You don't have to have a certain title or job. I mean, you can stay in your basement all day, crying all day in your pajamas. That still makes you an amazing person. It does. And I don't have to meet you face to face. And you might be thinking, well, if you lived with me, you'd hate me or something like that. But I don't care. Like, if people dislike you because they think you're annoying or stupid or ugly, then they're the ones with the problems if they hate you for those reasons. Unless you have actually gone out and harmed people, deliberately harmed people, then their annoyance of you, it's just annoyance. And you know what? There's a phrase, it's, how does it go? What other people think of you is not your business. And I know that sounds kind of rude, but it's true. And it's not your business because it doesn't need to be your business, because you're not helping yourself by hearing their judgments of you. And they always say, too, that if the way that people think negatively of you, that if it weren't you, if you weren't around, that they would be feeling that way about somebody else. So, so it is always precarious. It changes. And again, I know it's easier said than done to say don't take it personally when people hate you or act like they hate you or say they hate you, but really, like I was saying, things can change in the blink of an eye, and even if they don't, one of the things I can say about life that is truly a positive thing, it doesn't really have a negative to it, is that in the end, you can control, unless you have schizophrenia, which I can't even imagine, but you can control. I can't fully say how you feel about yourself, because that just wouldn't be true, because when you're feeling so depressed, you do lose control of you. You lose yourself. You become lost. So actually, I retract. You just have to learn to accept that you can't control your emotions. That's what I've had to do. You have to learn that you're going to be really sad and depressed, but that's just because you absorb more than the average person. If you look at parts of the world that take the most heat, they have all kinds of natural disasters. But they're also so beautiful. They're so, in my opinion, so much more beautiful than the parts of the world that, or the parts of the world that are frozen. They have ice storms. The parts of the world, the parts of the planet that go through the most storms and all the most mess, a lot of times they are the most beautiful, in my opinion. And I feel that way about someone like you who possibly feels suicidal, and you just feel everything. It's like lightning bolts and fire and ice cold at the same time. When you're feeling calm, whenever that may be, even if it's just hardly ever, you are more beautiful than most people in here. You would do anything for somebody because you know what pain feels like. You would do anything for somebody. And don't think that just because you would never push someone over the edge, if they got online and talked to you, that nobody else would do that to you. Don't think that, because they will. Several grown men, possibly women, saw Katelyn getting up on that tree, heard her word for word, saying what she was just about to do, watched her for a really long time, and no one tried to stop her. I think one person said something like, don't, and that was it. They made no real effort. The website LiveMe claims that they were never contacted about it, which means nobody contacted them about it. A lot of humans are sick. A lot of humans, when no one's looking, I've seen videos on YouTube of people walking down the street, finding a stray cat, kicking it and putting it in a trash can, and then walking by and not knowing that a surveillance video caught them. Because a lot of humans are sick. And those are the same people that you might come across online. So please don't do that to yourself. You're better off crying it out in your room, feeling bad for yourself, looking in the mirror. Sometimes I do that. I look in the mirror, I look at myself crying, and I think, God, look how pathetic you look. But sometimes that's healthy to do. It's healthier anyway to face how you feel than to put your emotions in other people's hands. You're putting too much trust in other people. Please don't do that to yourself. I hope that y'all are all feeling better, and the cool weather and the cloudiness is soon coming. I don't know where you live, but if you live in the States, it is, unless you live like where it's always cloudy. I'm in Minnesota. I know that makes my moods a lot, or not moods, but that makes just my joy kind of fade when it looks the same from morning to night. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, because when I was young that didn't really affect me, but I need to drink water when I do these videos, but I wasn't planning it. I had a minute. I actually had to pause it to tell people to kind of lower their volume because they didn't know I was recording a video, because I just was thinking of Katelyn, and I was thinking, God, the messages I've been getting lately, people need to know that this isn't safe. This isn't safe what they're doing. It's like getting drunk with your emotions and then going out to a bar and then just putting yourself out there to be taken advantage of. Don't do it. Don't do it. Please, unless you really know the people. Okay. Bye. And I care about you. I do. If you, like I said, if you're not a killer or something, I have no reason not to care about you, because the world needs good people. So, thank you.